Good evening, everybody. It is Monday, October 20th, 2025. I'm Nate Eaton. Thank you for being here for Courtroom Insider. I want to start tonight with a headline right out of newspapers.com. This is actually from the San Francisco Examiner. Monday, August 16th, 1982. Husband reports wife missing after body found in bay. Quoting, 3 days after Nancy Patricia Galvani's body was found floating in the bay near the San Mateo Bridge, her estranged husband, who has since been arrested for investigation of the slaying, filed a missing person report with San Francisco police. Foster City Police, who are in charge of the investigation into the murder of the 36-year-old woman, said her husband, Patrick, made the report to Northern Police Station on Ellis Street and Van Ness Avenue at 11 a.m. last Thursday. Her body was found August 9th, zipped into a sleeping bag. Bruises around her neck indicated she had been strangled. 6 days later, Patrick Galvani, described by friends as a quiet computer analyst, was arrested for investigation of killing his wife of 8 years. He was arrested after police searched his Pacific Heights Victorian Saturday. Though she was no longer living in the Green Street home, her yellow Buick was found in the garage there. Police called it an important piece of evidence. "We don't know what kind of mess this is," said a distraught Vincent Galvani, Patrick's father. The elder Galvani, speaking from his home in St. Paul, Minnesota, said his son was always mild-mannered and gentle. "This is just the reverse of what you would expect," he said. "Patrick wouldn't hurt a fly." The Galvanis were getting divorced, friends say. In July, Nancy had moved to the Civic Center Residency Hotel at 44 McAllister Street with their child, Allison. Under an informal custody arrangement, Nancy kept Allison during the week. On weekends, Patrick took the child back to the Green Street home. In keeping with the arrangement, Nancy told friends at the hotel on August 8th that she had to drop her child off and she would be right back. She drove off in her yellow 1973 Buick Apollo coupe. She never came back. Her naked body was discovered the following day by two high school teachers fishing off the San Mateo Bridge. She remained unidentified until Friday, when two women who operate the Civic Center Hotel identified the brown-haired, blue-eyed victim as Nancy Galvani, mother of a 5-year-old, wife of Patrick. Police obtained a search warrant to search the family's two-story home at 1871 Green Street here. During the 6-hour search for evidence Saturday, police found the yellow Buick in the garage. Galvani was arrested and taken to the San Francisco City Prison. He was to be transferred today to the county jail in Redwood City and is scheduled for arraignment Wednesday in San Mateo County Municipal Court. According to San Mateo County coroner's reports, Nancy Galvani died of asphyxiation. She was battered on one side of the head and choked, possibly by hand, said Foster City Police spokesman Baron Mueller. A concrete block weighed down the sleeping bag that encased her body when it was pulled from the bay at the eastern end of the San Mateo Bridge. Snug around her waist was a white boating line, a handhold to help her killer pick up the body, police speculate. Her ankles were also bound, and there were rope burns and bruises around her neck, police said. Again, that was August 16th, 1982. Fast forward 3 days later, August 19th, 1982. Again, newspapers.com from the San Francisco Examiner. Murder victim once said husband assaulted her. That photo right there, that's Patrick Galvani, who was free on bail in the murder case, meaning in that 3-day period, he was arrested and was able to post, let's see what this story says, $20,000 bail, though his lawyers say he tends to plead innocent at the Mateo court hearing scheduled tomorrow. Let me just read through this. 2 months before her body was found floating in the bay, Nancy Galvani went to court accusing her husband of battery and obtaining an order restraining him from contacting, threatening, or harming her. Documents filed in court show that the 36-year-old woman was granted a temporary restraining order on June 16th against Patrick Galvani after she accused him of hitting her, holding a pillow over her face, and threatening to take away their only child, a girl who worked as a model. Patrick Galvani, 30, was charged with murdering his wife following the August 9th discovery of her nude body at the eastern edge of the San Mateo Bridge. The next day, again, according to this newspaper article in the same newspaper from newspapers.com, Galvani pleads innocent This was again in August. He was out on bail. And I'm just going to simplify it and kind of condense the next few months because this all happened in August. By December of that year, all charges were dropped. And Patrick Galvani never, ever, ever was charged again or served a day in jail for the murder of his wife. Now, to this day, he is presumed innocent. I'm not saying he did it. What I am saying is there's a lot of evidence that points to him. And tonight, that daughter, that 5-year-old daughter, Allison, the model, is here. And she is going to speak about this case and where it's at now, over 40 years later. Her father is now in his 80s. She went on to live with him and was told repeatedly how horrible her mother was, that she was a whore, that she was a prostitute, that she was a bad woman. And Allison believed him. And then he sent her away to England for school, to Oxford, I believe. She didn't want to go. He said, I promise I'll join you there later. He didn't. But when she went away to school as a teenager, that's when she started to maybe question some things. But it really wasn't until later when she had her first child that she thought, I think my dad may have killed my mom. Like, maybe he lied to me. Maybe he's responsible. And she contacted the police and recorded a phone call with the father. We're going to talk about that phone call. It is a fascinating story that is something. And I have to tell you that Allison has gone on to become she teaches and researches at Yale. And she's an epidemiologist, has a PhD. She has published hundreds of scientific articles, won a Guggenheim Fellowship. She evaluates vaccination strategies and antiviral therapies for the Center of Disease Control. She's received international recognition and obtained tenure at the age of 33 at Yale. This is a smart, smart woman who has been fighting all of these years for justice on behalf of her mother. And she thinks that it might be coming, or at least hopes. And she has a plea, I guess I should say, for all of you watching tonight on how you can maybe help advance this case. So here is my interview with Allison Galvani. Well, Allison, I've really been looking forward to chatting with you. And I just want to start, back in 1982. You were 5 years old. The story I read in the LA Times, you remember having a picnic with your mom at having just seen Annie. And you're living in San Francisco. Your parents had just divorced, right? So you're living with mom and dad's living apart. To kind of set the scene for us.
Oh, well, they actually hadn't divorced. She had filed for
Oh,
divorce.
okay.
So when she was murdered, technically they were still married. As a result of violence, domestic violence, including an assault where my father was smothering my mother with a pillow, which I observed. My mother noted in her divorce filing. It's also in her diary. And my father even responded to saying that he put the pillow over my mother's face to deaden the noise for the neighbors until she conked out. That precipitated her filing for divorce. She took me and we moved to battered women's shelter. So that was, they were still negotiating the divorce when she was murdered.
Okay. So you're young. I mean, you're 5 at the time. Are you an only child?
Oops. Sorry,
Oh,
my
no worries.
earbud fell out.
Oh, no, not a problem. Are you the only child?
Yes.
Okay. So you're 5 years old. What do you remember as far as being told what happened to your mom, where your mom was, the fact that she had died?
I remember a lot surrounding her death. I think the trauma like kind of encapsulated the memories. So a lot of the memories are very vivid. Towards the end of this, so this is in the end of like July, they had come to just a temporary agreement that I would spend weekends with my father. So my mother would drop me off Friday evening and then pick me up Monday morning. The first weekend that I spent with him, and it's important, I think, to uh, with the context, like he also said he wanted custody of me. He had made threats to her, like, I'll kill you before you get custody of Allison. So the first weekend I spent with him, he registered me in a different school and told me not to tell my mom, like for first grade. So I'd done kindergarten to go into first grade.
Mhm.
Then the second weekend was the weekend that she was murdered.
Mm.
That weekend, I heard my father on the phone with his uncle, who also has the same first name, Uncle Pat. And my father had me call him by his first name, Pat. Um,
He had you call him Pat,
yes,
not Dad.
right.
Hmm. So
I
he's
mean, I
talking.
called my,
Oh, sorry. I was going to say he's talking to Uncle Pat on the phone.
yeah. So arranging for me to spend the night, the Sunday night with Uncle Pat. And I overheard the conversation when my father hung up, I mean, it even struck me as odd at the time. And it was certainly something I didn't want to do. Like I had only seen that uncle once before, and this is my father's uncle. So he's like an elderly man. I'd never been alone with Uncle Pat or spent the night. So I told my father I didn't want to spend the night. Um, he cajoled me, say, okay, well, I don't want to hurt his feelings. I've already arranged it. So you just go for a few hours and you won't have to spend the night. So that was my memory, just to be clear. Then there's things that I, now know from that I didn't know at the time. But meanwhile, so this meanwhile part I didn't know.
Okay.
He called my mother, and this is in her diary. She told multiple people. He told my mother she had to pick me up instead of Sunday morning. Uh, sorry, did I say Sunday? Instead of Monday morning, she had to pick me up Sunday evening. She noted in her diary that this change of plans irritated her because she was co-hosting a taco party
Mm.
at the residence, and but she wrote that my father said he had to go out on business um, Sunday at midnight. The last time that anyone saw my mother, she was at the taco party, so multiple people saw her. They interacted with her, long enough that then they were able to describe her clothing to detectives. She said, I have to go pick up Allison. She told multiple people, I have to go pick up Allison. I'll be right back. Pick up Allison from, her father's. And it was like a 7-minute drive from where we were living to my father's house. So she left just before 8. Neighbors saw her car in his driveway just after 8, like 8:20 or so.
Hmm.
It's a very distinctive car, yellow Buick. And when I say neighbors, this was the lady that lived above, like knew my parents very well, lived in the duplex above, and actually like she rented from them. So anyway, she, it struck her because she knew my mother wasn't living there any longer, that she was surprised to see my mother's car in the driveway. Based on the autopsy, her skull was fractured. She was strangled. Her clothing was removed and she was put in the sleeping bag. You mentioned about the picnic. So my mother kept a sleeping bag in the trunk of her car for picnics. And again, it's distinctive. It had like these egrets, these birds taking flight as a pattern. Um, so the killer, who now I'm certain is my father, took the sleeping bag out of the trunk of her car, bound her with rope, and then Um, she was dumped, attached a cinder block to her, dumped her body over the Hayward San Mateo Bridge. But she was found within 24 hours. Like fishermen found her the next day.
Hmm.
And so, then the autopsy was could it's very accurate, or more accurate autopsy when it's the person's been just recently killed. And the autopsy, so they didn't know who, I mean, she was unidentified at the time. So but yeah, it's consistent with her being killed. The Well, more than consistent. I mean, I think basically stated that she had been killed like the Sunday when, again, my mother was last seen. So all of that aligns. My father didn't end up picking me up like he said he would at Uncle Pat's house. He canceled.
Mm.
So I did have to spend the night. After all, again, that's the Sunday night when as it turned out, she was murdered. Um, then my father, so then that's shifting back to like my memory. Like I remember my father canceling it. He said his car had broken down. I didn't speak to him, but Uncle Pat spoke to him, and Uncle Pat relayed to me that my father's car had broken down. And I remember being fresh because I did not want to spend the night there. And I said, "Oh, can I take a taxi?" But yeah, anyway, my father picked me up the next day.
What did he say?
My father said that she had probably run off because of the stress of the divorce. And I think that was the narrative that he was, had been planning. This is clearly premeditated, that he'd been planning because he thought that the cinder block would be sufficient. I think he also didn't realize how shallow the water was where he threw her body
Mm.
over. So he wasn't expecting her body to be found.
Especially that
So
quick.
yeah, exactly. Um, but I didn't believe it at the time because I didn't think she would abandon me. She was found on the Monday. Then on Tuesday, the papers ran like a sketch of, she was a Jane Doe at that point. She was unidentified. My mother's friends, because my mother hadn't returned to the taco party. They were already concerned about her because they knew she was going to like her estranged husband's house. They knew she told them, about how he was violent and had threatened to kill her. And she viewed that smothering incident that I described, that assault, as an attempted murder. I was begging him to stop. Like if she felt that if I wasn't there, like he would have killed her
Mm.
at that time. So her friends knew that, and they were really concerned. They saw the sketch in the newspaper, and they were concerned it was her. They called my father to alert him to the sketch and asked, you know, I guess confront/ask him that, Nancy said she was going there to pick up Allison. He said, "Oh no, well she didn't come." And he did, and they told him he needed to report her missing. Then I think a sketch appeared again in the newspaper, or the articles. There was a follow-up article. Then I guess it would be, so it was Tuesday. Then Wednesday again, they called him again. Wednesday, they insisted that he report her missing. They said that, like, if he didn't, that they would. And in fact, and then so he said, "Okay, fine, I will." He walked into like a local precinct. He read from a legal pad. He
Mm.
didn't connect like his missing wife with the body. Like I think he was still hoping that that body was not identified as her. So even though her friends had called 2 days in a row, alerting him to the sketch, and my father had subscription to like the San Francisco Chronicle, and it was also in the Examiner.
So he would have
I'm
seen
not-
it.
yeah, it's inconceivable that he didn't, especially with her missing, that it didn't strike him as something that he should mention to the police. So meanwhile, then her friends, they contacted Foster City Police and said, we think we know the identity of the Jane Doe. They identified my mom. My father, actually, in retrospect, I also think this is, people have pointed out, like, first, it didn't strike me as like that damning, but he had his mother come out from Minnesota before like he knew my mother was dead. So like just a couple days. So it was like, she was never going to come to pick me up.
Show up. What did he
show
say to
up.
the police station there, Allison? You said he went in with a notepad. Did he just read a statement off of the notepad?
He apparently, read statement. I don't exactly know everything that he said, but I know that he didn't connect her with the sketch, and he implied that she had, just run off out of, that's the narrative I think that he gave at the precinct as well.
So her friends identify her.
Yeah.
He doesn't tell the police, he doesn't connect the sketch. At what point do you find out that my mom's dead, and who told you?
So Saturday, so she went missing Sunday. I was expecting her Monday morning. Saturday, the police came to our house. They asked to speak to my father. He refused to speak to them. They asked if they could look around. He denied that, but they had come with a search warrant. So then that's when I was told that my mother had been found strangled. And they searched my father's house. They found her, her friends who reported her missing had described her clothing. They found my mother's clothing, her glasses, and her car was at my father's house. So, her car being there, well, just everything, that's very incriminating.
Right. Did they interview your dad?
They wanted to, but he refused to speak to
So
them.
did he get like an attorney and,
Yes.
lawyer up? He did.
Yeah, he did. And actually they did arrest him then that day, based on what they found in his home. Like from my perspective, I didn't realize, he's like out on bail, because it hadn't really been explained to me. That I did see him in handcuffs, and I asked my grandmother why he was in handcuffs, and she said, oh, the police deal with a lot of dangerous people, so that's just like their protocol.
Well, plus you're 5 or 6, you're not probably going to know what bail is, bond. That's kind of foreign to a kid.
Yeah. So like now I understand he was out. He was then away a couple of days. Like I remember that, like him being away. Then he came home.
So did you ever hear what his defense was, or his alibi, why he said he wasn't the guy they were looking for?
Well, he said I was his alibi, or at least he didn't talk to the police. So his lawyers, he was talking to his lawyers. He hired like very high powered representation, John Kecker.
Allison, can we pause for a minute? Tell me what
sure.
your dad did. I mean, we're still recording, but it's kind of set the stage, because it sounds like he had money, and because you guys were living in an affluent neighborhood, right? I mean, so was he influential in the community? Was he known for his money? And what about your mom's social status? Because a lot of times, unfortunately, those type of things play into cases like this.
Yeah, I think it did. Well, when my parents met, my mother was a social worker, and my father was working for like investment consulting. And actually at the time my father had quit his job, but his family had the money to, post his bond and hire. Yeah, they spent a lot of money on his defense. Also, his sister, who was a lawyer, she came out from New York City.
To assist.
Yeah.
So he did have the money to get the good attorneys, and they said you were his alibi. What? That he was with you at the time that his wife would have been killed?
Yes. So they didn't realize that he had sent me to Pat's house. They did note, apparently, in the interview with me that I referred to my father as Pat. So I think there was confusion
Mm.
because they're both Pat, both Patrick, Pat, they went by Pat. And his lawyers pushed that. They said that, a violent murder like this couldn't have occurred in that home without, little girl hearing it. So I was his alibi. In fact, that's why my YouTube channel is called My Father's Alibi.
Mm.
Um, I was his false alibi, which the police now know, but at the time they didn't know. The police still felt there was plenty to arrest him. Um, and well, if we're jumping ahead to when the charges were dropped, like the chief of police even from Foster City made a statement. They really disagreed with that. They didn't understand why the evidence, like he wasn't going to be judged by a jury of his peers. That's an December 1982 article. The DA said, we're not saying the day at the time, of course, it's a new generation now. We're not saying for a minute that he didn't do it. We're just saying that we think there's less than 50% chance that we would win the case, which is our criteria for going forward. So it wasn't much of like a vindication, like looking back at those quotes. And so he was not prosecuted. So there's no he was charged, but then the charges were dropped. They also disparaged my mother.
The defense
You
team
know,
did?
yes. Like anything, for instance, like she in the autopsy notice, she had like freshly manicured nails painted red. And they were saying like that only a promiscuous woman would have nails like that. My father, he ended up like telling me that it was probably a serial killer that killed prostitutes because my mother was, uh, yeah, she was acting like a whore.
Mm.
They said, she was mentally ill, which, um, she didn't kill herself. So
Yeah.
it's, she was a social worker. She was like, she had a master's degree in social work. She wasn't working at the time, after I was born. Oh, I saw a quote from my father's lawyers like saying, oh, that, you know, Allison needs one of her parents, which I see that. I find that disturbing but I see that even now. Like, for instance, there's this, I don't know if you're familiar with this case in Florida, Adelson case, where a family conspired to, put out a hit on the ex-husband. Um, at this point, there were four trials. The first one pled, but anyways, five people are in jail now for that crime. It's pretty clear the mother of the two little boys was also involved. And you hear, not with everyone, but I occasionally hear the narrative that, oh, well, they hope that Wendy's the mom's name, is not charged because like that will be traumatic for the boys. And they need a parent, but they don't need a parent. This is, and having experienced myself, you don't need a parent as narcissistic and violent, uh, and clearly not putting the child's interests as paramount.
Right.
That's not the idea that that's the parent that a child needs. I think just find sick.
Yeah.
So, but that is something they said, and I guess some people they still even believe that kind of thing.
What month was your mom killed in?
August,
So August. So then they
8th
dropped
of
the
August.
August 8th. They dropped the charges in December. of the same year. Was your dad ever charged again in association with the case?
No.
And he walks free, completely free. And how long do you continue to live with him?
Lived with him my entire childhood.
And did you
I
talk
did.
about your mom? Was the mom brought up?
If ever I would bring her up, he would disparage her, calling her a whore or crazy. Um, and, even like that smothering assault that I had observed, that even became normalized. Yeah, like I accepted as though it was reasonable that, oh yeah, you would press a pillow over your wife's face to quiet her down. It wasn't until I had my own baby that it struck me that is not okay. And it makes I was persuaded that like she shouldn't have even filed divorce for divorce against him. Like that was only because she was crazy that she did that.
So you're
Um,
100% on his side, obviously, as I think most children would be. When did you realize, wait a second, like take a pause and say, maybe my dad did this? I mean, were you in college? When did that come about?
well, this is something that my husband can speak to. And I think it is kind of hard for people to understand. So I, well, I think just over the many years, I was in a state of like cognitive dissonance where I still remembered all the things I described to you. I knew like her car was found at his house. Um, and there were things like that that were unsettling. I remembered how he canceled picking me up from, I had spent the night with Uncle Pat's house at Uncle Pat's house. Um, but but at the same time, I clung to my father. I was an only child. Um, there was that uncle who but all the family were like in Minnesota or on the East Coast. So my father was really all I had. And having lost my mother so suddenly as well, I was concerned. I was anxious basically all the time that he would suddenly die as
Yeah.
well. So I was very attached to him. He has a violent temper. He started taking that out on me, but that was also something I compartmentalized.
Hmm.
Like, and I thought like that I did really love him. So, but still these facts and these memories were unsettling to me. And for instance, like when I met my husband when I was 25, like, I would say to him things like, isn't it weird that, my mother's car was at my father's house? And Jeff I didn't realize at the time, but he knew straight away just from the facts I had described. Oh, this woman's father killed her mother. But um he didn't come out and say that to me, but he would
Right.
reflect like, oh yeah, that is weird. That's weird. I think the denial really lifted when when I became a mother myself.
Yeah. Wow. I can imagine that when you have your own kids and you start to put it together. Were you still talking with your dad by the time you got married and had your first child?
Yes.
You were. So you
Um,
had a relationship.
yes, at that point, yes. I mean, because the denial, like at that point, the denial, like I maybe have, yeah, some moments where I thought he was guilty or like but then I thought, I also thought like of my father, it's still, even though he was violent with me, even though I observed violence, even though like I remembered all these unsettling, incriminating things, I had this like cognitive dissonance with, oh, but he's my father. My father couldn't do that. I spent years living with him, being raised by him.
At that point, you kind of enter this new phase, this new train of line of thinking. Do you like confront him? Do you say, I need to ask him some questions? How do you handle it, at that point?
I did confront him, And he said it wasn't my fault. Like, I accused him of killing her when Sarah was a little baby. He said it wasn't my fault. I then started contacting I was trying to gather then as much evidence as I could.
And was this around like 20 years ago?
Yes. Like,
Okay.
well, yeah, a little bit less. Sarah's 18 now.
18.
So,
Okay, so around
yeah.
18 years ago. So for the first 20 years of your life, 25 years, you're with him, you kind of agree with what he said, although there are moments where you kind of question it. And when you have your first child, daughter, Sarah, you're like, okay, Dad, did you kill her? And he says, it wasn't my fault.
Yes.
And so what do you do with that information? That's when you start to reach out to the authorities?
Yes.
And what was the
Um,
response from them?
it was a new generation, and now it's even a new generation beyond that. The police looked at the file again and thought, oh my gosh, I can't believe this case hasn't been prosecuted. There's so much evidence here.
Mm.
And I clarified for them about I wasn't my father's alibi. They asked me to do a police recorded phone call because my father, said for me, like, it wasn't my fault. I don't think is really the natural, I guess, consistent with being innocent. He's not saying I am guilty, but I still don't think it's for like what an innocent person is likely to say.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, I went out to Foster City to do this police recorded phone call. In the phone call, he admits that, he sent me to Uncle Pat's that night. He canceled picking me up. I confronted him also. He had been inconsistent over the years about why he hadn't picked me up. So he had said, like, well, he usually said the car had broken down. And that police recorded phone call, he said he'd had a couple beers. He was not an alcoholic. So it was, and he was, I also just think, like, if he was supposed to pick me up and he promised to pick me up, like, he shouldn't, if he was then gonna drink and then decide, oh no, I can't drive. But so that's what he said. And I said, oh, well, that's, you've given these two different reasons. And he said, oh no, both are true. That the car broke down and he had beers. 2 beers, I think he said. So in that phone call, he also said that, and this was something he said many times, that my mother's murder was the best thing that ever could have happened to me, that if she had lived, I would be a druggie. Those were his words. And he's basically giving justifications for her murder. He said, if I did it for you.
Mm.
He also said in the police recorded phone call that he was planning it. And I said, when were you gonna, it was the first time he had told me I was planning to kill her. And I said, when were you gonna kill her? He said, oh, he was planning to kill her the next day, but someone beat him to it.
What?
Yeah.
And this is all on tape.
Yeah. And, because it was recorded by the police, it can be played in court. I mean,
Right.
the prosecutors have confirmed that now, like that whole tape. And it's not a short phone call. He's just saying, like, one weird thing after another.
So this was 18 years ago. What's happened in the past 18 years? I mean, why is he still a free man?
I don't really understand why they did this. The police at that time, again, wanted the district attorney to press charges, and I don't really understand why they didn't. I talked about it on YouTube, and people said, like, oh my gosh, there's so much evidence here, you should contact them. And like, people started writing emails to Foster City and to the DA's office, which prompted me to contact Foster City again. It hadn't been on their radar. They looked at it and had the same response that the previous generation had, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this hasn't been prosecuted. It's been assigned a homicide prosecutor. I know that I think the DA, I have met with Mr. Wagstaff, Stephen Wagstaff. He may have some reservations about filing the charges, but his colleagues feel that the case is extremely strong and that charges need to be brought immediately. And that's how the police department feels. The lead detective, the original detectives are still alive. They say they're haunted by the case and that it didn't get prosecuted. And so, yeah, basically in response to people emailing the DA's office, they did devote resources over the last year or so to reinvestigating the case. They found the vast majority of the witnesses, like the people that last saw my mother, who described the clothing.
Well, the good thing
Yeah.
is, like Allison and I were talking before we were recording, it's nice that the police and the DA's office, for the most part, everybody wants to pursue this, that there have been resources put into this case for the past years because so many times you're fighting, and it's not going anywhere. Sounds like this just needs to get pushed over the finish line. And you're saying that if people can reach out to the DA and encourage them, that might help. Do you have a way to contact, let's see, what's is it Robert? Is that his first name? Mr. Wagstaff?
Oh, Wagstaff.
Yeah.
Wagstaff is his last name. Yeah, S is his, so S Wagstaff. Yes.
S Wagstaff at smcgov.org.
And there's no period. It's in his email. It's S, and then Wagstaff was spelled WAGSTAFFE at smcgov.org.
Allison, have you had any contact with your dad over the past few years?
That police recorded phone call was the last time I spoke to him.
Do you have any interest in talking to him if he wanted to talk with you?
I haven't. Yeah, that's an interesting question. I guess perhaps, but I don't expect to get anything other than gaslighting and anger. He's not really capable of feeling remorse, hence all those justifications in the phone call for why he did it.
Well, I have to express my admiration for what you have made out of your life, given such a horrible childhood, having lost your mom and then being raised by a violent man who manipulated everybody, so it seems. And here you've gone on to be a well-known epidemiologist who has done great work in fighting infectious diseases. How do you think this has affected you, though, overall, your life, leading to where you are today?
It's still a daily pain, and, avoid, even my children say that even though they never had the opportunity to meet my mother, that they feel her absence, at, family events, graduations, that sort of thing. My eldest wrote what I think is a very powerful email to the DA about that. It has affected me. I think maybe I'm a more anxious person in general. It's kind of hard to know but yeah, I think I feel a lot of anxiety, especially with the safety of the people I love. In terms of, thank you for mentioning my career. I think that was a coping mechanism. Combination of my father, to him, me doing well in school was really important. I think he felt that reflected on him. And so to make him proud, I focused on studying. And also, yeah, I think I just focused so much on studying in school to uh, almost try to give my mind not much space to think about my mother, but still, I think about her every day.
Yeah. What do you want the world to know about her?
She was a compassionate, loving person who didn't deserve, I was used as bait to lure her. My father used me as bait, and then he used me as his false alibi. And she thought she was picking me up, and that he used me as bait in that way.
Yeah. Well, Allison, I hope that next time we speak, there's been an arrest in that case, your case. That'd be something if that was the case.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there anything you want to add?
Um, no, just gratitude to the YouTube community for writing to Mr. Wagstaff. It has already been instrumental in the allocation of resources, and I'm, yeah, so grateful for your coverage. Hopefully, it will spur other people to write as well. So yeah, thank you.
Al
Thank you,
Allison,
Nate.
before you go, where can people find your YouTube channel?
Oh, it's my father's alibi. Yeah, it's the handle for my YouTube
My Father's
channel.
Alibi, and I imagine there you go more in depth into the case and what's happened over the years.
Yes.
Yeah. I can't imagine going my whole life wondering what happened to mom and then realizing, oh, what happened to her is that dad killed her, and now I need to fight to get justice for her and make sure he is locked up. Um, he's now in his 80s, living in San Francisco. And as she mentioned there, she hasn't talked to him since she called him and confronted him on that phone call. But if you are interested in contacting the prosecutor, again, that email address is it's Mr. Wagstaff, S Wagstaff, that's SWAGSTAFFE at SMC, as in cow, gov.org. You can contact the prosecutor directly there for the county. Big thanks to Allison for speaking out, and we'll continue to follow this one for sure. And I want to thank newspapers.com. They helped make tonight possible. It's fascinating. All of the stories in one place about this case from the early 1980s, from the San Francisco Examiner. I was able to find the pictures of Patrick. I was able to find the news stories from when this case originally broke. It's just a treasure trove of information, and we thank newspapers.com for sponsoring Courtroom Insider. If you haven't checked them out, you should go do it. Take advantage of that 7-day free trial and learn more about this case. And also, there's so many others out there that you can do research on. Here's where you can find me. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on X, and of course, YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't. We love your subscription, and we appreciate all of you who have subscribed and who support us and who comments. And we also want to thank Miss Peggy, our comment moderator, who's with us every night, gathering the comments and searching for good questions that she can then pass on to me. Without you, we couldn't do this, and I appreciate it. We'll be back this week. It's political season, of course, and so we're moderating debates in different forums in our community, which is what I'm doing tomorrow night live in Rexburg. So we won't have a Courtroom Insider tomorrow night, but you can tune in if you want. I'll still be there. We'll just be talking politics. And hopefully we'll be back Wednesday night here with another Courtroom Insider, and then maybe Thursday and Friday, depending on how the week pans out. But appreciate you watching, and all my best tonight to Allison and her family as they work to get justice on behalf of Nancy. Thank you for watching. Have a good night. We'll see you.